can't quite remember who said it. It was a musician, somebody, I really don't remember. My friend Jerry told me about this, and he said, well, artwork is often never really finished. People just stop working on it. And I thought that was a very wise thing to say, and it's true, because if you work on something like a creative project, you could literally keep going and going and going. And just for writing, for example, that's that one sentence, you could just string it out, chop it up and reformulate it, and all such things. Or with 3D art, you could just maybe move that object in the background just a little bit, or just change that shader, or tweak that lighting, and all these things. Definitely possible, but it takes time, and there's this thing that musicians have the same thing. Maybe we'll overdub that one take one more time, and it just all takes time. But there comes a point where eventually you're kind of mentally finished with something, or you just don't want to tweak anymore. You just feel it's good enough. I certainly recognize that in me, that I'm thinking, yeah, I could really just keep going for another week, but the thing has a deadline, which is tomorrow afternoon, so I really have to get going here. And that time constraint, that sometimes gets in the way if it's your personal work. It also puts a lot of pressure on something if it's commissioned work, but we can also use that as an advantage. And I had this idea that I'd like to try this and basically make it an exercise of it. And I'd like to call it, just for now, 10-minute portraits. So, and do it for 3D art. I mean, it can be done. Thanks for cutting me off. That's awesome. DIZJ43, silver, I don't know, hatchback type car. Crazy people. So yes, I'd like to call that 10-minute portraits for now, and perhaps turn it into an experiment, maybe a little series where literally you set a timer. Maybe it's not going to be possible in 10 minutes, maybe we can call it 20-minute portraits instead, but literally say the whole catalog of items in my content library is available. I have 10, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever time limit we want to set, and at that point I'm going to have to finish building my scene, and really just go and see that as the deadline. Because the danger is always that you try and perfect something, really the scene is there after 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then you spend 5 hours more tweaking something that really sometimes doesn't improve the overall picture, and also it's detrimental to your output. So you have one image at the end of the day to show for it. You render that, you look at it, or you let it render overnight, you look at it and you think, actually, I don't know, it's a bit meh, and then you move on. And I recognize that in me. Sometimes that's a shame. We should just not try to achieve perfectionism. We should try to achieve output, or actually strike a balance between them. By which I don't mean just be prolific for the sake of it and churn out 50 rubbish images per day. That's not what I mean. But you can practice honing the basics in without getting lost in the detail early on when you make something. Like 3D sculptors, they always say that. They say, well, rough out the basic shape first, and if you're unskilled, then you get lost in the detail when the overall basic shape isn't there, and then it's really not salvageable, and you just don't get things done. That's what I mean. And this is where that exercise can really help. I just go and say, hey, I've got a certain amount of time, set your egg timer for it, and just go, this is when it starts. And I'm thinking of doing that maybe as a little series and just call it however long it takes. I mean, I haven't really tried this as a test yet. It's just an idea I wanted to put out there and put down somewhere, and see how it goes, and just try and cultivate that and say, I need to do this in 10, 15, 20 minutes. That's excluding the final rendering time, of course, but and also preview renders and all that, they can take some time, but literally just put the basics in: figure, pose, hair, clothing, lighting, go. That's it, really. Background, that's it. And just go and do that and cultivate that and get good at it. It's a good practice thing, I think. And it'll be a nice little series to say, hey, this is how at that point, so I think the part of the challenge is at that point you must stop. And if you've only just done picking some character morph after 15 minutes, you go, yeah, well, failed the challenge. You know, if you haven't got the overall concept by that point. So yeah, I'm thinking that's a nice idea. Don't know if it's going to be successful or not, but I thought I'm just going to put it out there and maybe also start this little playlist that's called Ideas. Just put it out there. Something I might never do, but an idea that I had, and I'm thinking maybe it's good to just at least get that out there, get out of my brain, put it onto YouTube, then YouTube can deal with it. That's a nice idea. It's another little topic there, perhaps good for a second video, don't know. Maybe I'll just leave it running, I don't know. So it's how do you deal with too many ideas? I mean, I currently have lists upon lists of things, quick thoughts that I have that I'm thinking, I don't want to lose that, I want to put this down. And usually I use something quite inconspicuous, something like the Notes app in iOS, or maybe something like the Reminders app, and just build a list. I do that when I have a lot of stuff to get through during a day. I go and put a list together, and then once I've done it, I can just tick it off and the item disappears off the list. And that's nice. And if I wanted to have a victory log of things, then I can always have a look at the completed items, and that tells me how much I've achieved. So that's good, that's cool. But those lists, they're just a list, you know. It's just as difficult as working with a bunch of files on your hard drive in a folder, and eventually there comes a point where you have so many files and lists all half started, never finished, that you think, yeah, what was the broader idea here? How do I tackle that? How do I merge this into another list? And I don't quite know how to tackle that. I wonder if you had any tips for me. So the Reminders app works really well for list building, that's all nice. And the Notes app also works really well, but it's very difficult to organize these things. And it's kind of akin to having something, well, you know, like a bunch of files in a folder on the hard drive. But how do you then go and tackle these things, you know? If it's just something like a big document that you just keep amending, how do you go about sifting through older ideas? Because I recognize that some things I might just never do, and I'm okay with that. It's just a shame for me sometimes to lose those ideas. So I'd rather write them down somewhere, or, you know, talk into the camera and put it on YouTube, and then at least if somebody wants it, maybe they can run with the idea. If somebody's creative and just hasn't got the spark or the idea, oh, take one of mine, you know, and roll with that if you like. Because I just don't have the time sometimes. I have a lot of ideas, and I often recognize that some ideas are really, really cool, but they would require so much time and work and effort that I would just never be able to put in. Also, some of the ideas that I have, I just know I'm just not good at executing them, even if I wanted to, even if I had the time and the resources. I just, you know, so whatever, you want to paint a portrait, yeah, I'm really not your man there, sadly. Or an idea for a story, and you think, yeah, I'm really not a writer. I don't think I could set a year of my life aside for that. Because I'm just bringing this up because earlier today I had this notion that I'm 47, and that means that if I compare this to a football match, I'm now in the second minute of the second half of my life, really. So I kind of saw the whole process of being born to about 45 as the first half, and then from the 46th year, which started off with a bit of drama there, I have you know, or with a big success, really, or almost with a rebirth. I see this as the second half of my life, and I'm only at the very beginning of it, but 1 year of it is already over. So, you know, a year and a half of it, the second year of the second half of my life is in the making. And if I look back at the first half, or the first minute, or the first, you know, if you compare that to a football match there, the first minutes or the first year of the second half of my life, that went well. I'm proud of myself. I have to say, this is good. What I've put in place, what I've done, the output that I've had, that's good. That's really good. And I think much of it was about finding a system that lets me do all the things that need to come out of my head for posterity and for, you know, whatever you want to call it. And I think I've succeeded in that. But there's a lot more to be said and to be done. So yes, that is an ongoing process, and one part of the process is literally dealing with the amount of ideas that I have, and they need to either be put down and filed under not ever going to do that, but I still had the idea, or they need to be filed under this is something I could potentially do if ever I run out of ideas, or they just need to be done, you know. So like that needs to be made reality if there's something I feel passionate about, and if it's something I can fit into my time scale. Yeah, so there we go. If you have any tips of how to manage lists upon lists, let me know. Any software is welcome. Any just organizational easy tips are also welcome. Perhaps I should start using a pen and paper rather than look at electronic things all the time. Like this nice leather-bound notebook for $50 or something with really expensive paper. And you see, the thing is really my handwriting sucks, so I can't really. It's just difficult for me to write things down with a pen. Nevertheless, maybe it's something I can try and start doing. Anything really. Yeah, so this feeds into ideas. You know, it's easy for me to record them while I'm on the bike. This is great. So I can just put an idea on tape. And you know, that's good. That's great. But then this is where my question begins, I guess. What do you do with it then? I mean, yeah, put it on YouTube. That's great for hosting, but YouTube is terrible for organizing anything. It's great for quickly uploading a video, but tag system is basically useless because you're never going to find anything in your big library of videos. I mean, I have 1,000 videos on one of my YouTube channels, on this one in fact, and it's most of them are unlisted or private, and it's just for me really. But how do you find anything? You can do a title search, yes, but there's no way that you can click on one word like a tag and it brings up all the related tags like on WordPress or something. So you'd have to have a system then, like a database almost, that would let you do that. So I would have to not just upload it to YouTube, I'd have to also go and then post that on my website or on a website and then give it a tag, you know, for yeah, that sort of thing, I guess. Yeah. But is WordPress good for that? I don't know. It's just I'm still looking for the system that really nails it for organizing my very, what's the word for that? My brain, really.